A series of time-honored brands have returned to the public eye, and the Guochao Chinese trend has quickly become the new benchmark for fashion in just 2 years. After years of competing with foreign brands, domestic products have finally ushered in their springtime. Jiahua, always attuned to consumer trends, was quick to make moves in the Guochao sector. Guochao dining brands like Xiangqian***, and by Mantu, among others, were invested in by Jiahua early on and have achieved impressive results in their respective niche markets. Everyone is looking at the current economic environment with a greater sense of reverence, especially during this so-called period of slowed growth. But in the consumer sector, there's been a particularly inspiring phenomenon: the rise of Guochao. With this rise, China has started to see the emergence of a huge number of domestic brands. If you walk into a shopping mall now, you'll clearly notice this change. The big-name brands that used to dominate are slowly disappearing or becoming less popular. But many niche, new brands have become highly sought after. Why do people like to go to these places? What's the reason behind this?
I think it has to do with young people and with the patriotic enthusiasm of a younger generation.
Back in the era of scarcity, when a large number of overseas products started coming in, we entered the era of the post-80s generation. That was really the time when foreign brands entered China, like McDonald's, KFC, Uniqlo, right? H&M, right? Zara. So for people born in the 80s, they tended to support international brands. Brands, users, and international trends, yeah. But I think for the post-90s and post-2000s generations, these young people, what kind of environment do they live in? They live in China truly became the world's second largest economy. This generation has witnessed China's rapid rise since the day they were born, with such fast economic growth. They have a very strong sense of national confidence, and also a very strong sense of national identity. So, in this context, our national brands have started to rise. And in the future, what is Chinese will definitely become global, right? What belongs to China will belong to the world. What is national will be even more international. I think China is a very unique cultural powerhouse. So with the rise of Chinese consumer brands, I believe that as they go global, they will bring some very positive and beneficial things to the world. These additions include companies like Heidaleo, and there are even more now, like Boziding, right? There are more and more of them, and I believe that in the next 20 to 30 years, as we enter an era where good people do business, more entrepreneurs will truly care about people's hearts, gain insights to improve their products, and incorporate more humanistic values into their business models. I believe that Chinese brands will definitely go global.
Then may I ask a question in return? I'd like to challenge something. Actually, in any era, as long as there are people, there will be communities, and where there are communities, there will be brands. We've never lacked brands. So how do you prove, or how do you convince people when you say that the Guochao trend has arrived, that this era of mass consumption has truly come? How can you be sure it's not just a flash in the pan? How do you know it's not a false prosperity?
Actually, it's very simple. On a macro level, it's because most people now understand that the entire structure of consumption in society is changing, and family structures are changing too. The main demographic of society as a whole is also getting younger, right? Our main group of consumers is getting younger. Because in the future, it's going to be the post-95s and post-00s who become the main force of consumption. This generation is actually full of confidence about the future. They have high hopes for the growth of their income and for a better life. And honestly, their expectations are quite high. They also know how to satisfy themselves. Third, they have confidence in the Chinese economy. The growth of China's economy in the future is certain, even though things are tough right now. Right. But I believe that after getting through this period, China's economy will still become the engine of the world economy, the driving force behind it.
As you were speaking, it seemed like the word Long China was written right on your face, being bullish on China. As an investor, the most wonderful moment is growing and investing together with the country's fortunes. Life is like a marathon, a track that moves forward, full of excitement and richness. He earned his undergraduate degree in English and American literature, pursued a doctorate, studied finance, started his own business, and became a soul catcher in the consumer sector. At the same time, while balancing his work as a university professor, he has also become a top shopping expert at major malls. I'm really curious. What new plans does he have for his life, and what new things is he looking forward to? Understand life. Invest in consumption. What is your ideal plan for your own life? Have you already achieved it? Are the things you do, eat, drink, and wear ideal and perfect for you?
Not really. For me, life is always a journey in progress, right? So being sensitive to changes, adapting to life, and constantly evolving myself is actually extremely important. People can't live their lives over again. I think the most important thing in life is to give your own life meaning. So I try my best to do work that I personally find meaningful. That's why I became a university professor, and why I became a mentor at the Black Horse training camp. Honestly, this work is exhausting, but I'm willing to share my experiences with everyone, even if what I say isn't always right. I believe it will inspire some people and truly help some entrepreneurs. I'm also trying to balance my own life, because if you work in consumer services, you really have to love life enough, and you need to have strong physical stamina. Only then can you handle this job well and balance the relationship between work and family. I think it's very important. If a person can reach a certain state in life, that would be my ideal. Looking up to watch the clouds drift by in the sky, and looking down to see the flowers bloom and wither in the courtyard. To have a heart at peace, undisturbed by honor or disgrace, and to face things calmly. I think that's the best state of life. It doesn't matter how big your career is or how much money you have. I really admire what our big brother Chen Dongxing said, right? Strive to be a farmer, not a hunter. Even if I only have a tiny plot of land, I want to make it bloom beautifully. When you see yourself working busily in the fields, right, and your harvest turns out perfect, you'll still feel that sense of pride in your heart. The twists and turns in the meaning of life bring you powerful motivation at work. That's what I hope for, which is why our company's English name is Harvest Capital. Harvest Capital, harvest. Yes, harvesting in life, harvesting in your career, but even more importantly, harvesting in your soul. Investing is like life itself. It's an endless journey of refining your character. While many investors chase after the latest trends, we choose to steadily cultivate our own path. In the consumer sector, nothing can stop people from pursuing a better life. With his support and guidance, industry champions like Yuran Home, Eastrock Drink, and Lao Xiangji have emerged one after another.
While we marvel at the precision of his investments, what stands out even more is his extraordinary commitment to the consumer sector. Looking ahead to the next century of consumer trends, Xiangqian is willing to be the steadfast companion to China's consumer champions. He says, "This is an era where good people do business, and with curiosity and faith, nothing can stop people from pursuing a better life." Xiangqian believes in staying true to principles while embracing innovation, and in harmony without uniformity. The era of good people doing business has arrived.